The Take with Martha and Mona Lisa.
Hi and welcome to The Take, a review of news stories making headlines across the world. I'm Martha Mamombe, joined in studio by my co-host Mona Lisa Dube, looking pretty as ever. So let's get straight into it. Health check. 1.4 million people are living with HIV and AIDS in Zimbabwe. It is estimated that 90% of those 1.4 million people are on the ARV treatment. This is a life-saving drug. So why is it that police are stopping people on roadblocks and requesting proof or evidence to show where they are going and if they should be going there? This is a report we caught wind of, and it's extremely concerning because young people say that it is making it very difficult for them to get to their nearest healthcare center, get their ARVs, and if you're on a bus full of people, you know, and you're being asked, where are you going?
Where are you going? Why are you going there? Oh, I'm going to get my ARV. Tony, are you really going there? You know, it's a lot for young people.
Imagine a follow-up question being, Sakaone AIDS.
Imagine that. And you're in a bus full of people, and this is a violation, to be honest. This is a violation of basic rights. Someone should not be forced to disclose their HIV status. And as a country and the rest of the region, we're trying to fight the AIDS pandemic and to end it by, say, 2030.
Right.
Now, if young people hear about this, that every time you get into a bus, you're going to be asked that, where are you going? Do you really need to go there? And now you're forced to give us HIV testing, your status rather. People might not even want to get tested after that.
Might not want to even. And considering the fact that this is part of our sustainable development goals as a country, as a region, we want to end AIDS by the year 2030, it is extremely discouraging.
Right.
We need for our policymakers, those who are in charge of enforcing the law, to be youth friendly.
But how do you draw the line, Martha? Because like you said in the beginning, we are in a COVID-19 pandemic, and these police officers, they're on a mandate. They were told, find out where people are going. People should not be going anywhere.
Right.
So where do you draw the line between not violating someone's basic right to privacy and access to healthcare?
Yeah.
And they're also doing their job as the police to make sure that they know where everyone's going if they really need to go there.
I think that we need to enforce laws in a manner that is fair, that allows people their dignity and their human decency, especially young people, because the people that are the subject of this matter we're discussing today are young people. It's a matter of where you're going. Can I see proof? I mean, if the police officer is going to get your card from the doctor or the public health facility or institution.
So it becomes a private conversation.
I think it should be a private conversation. It should be a matter of, here's my information, here's the material you need.
Don't announce it to the rest of the bus.
Don't be asking people, une AIDS. What is that?
Absolutely.
That is nonsense.
I was reading a report by a human rights watchdog who is saying that generally in the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been about over 900 violations of basic rights. And this is not only in Zimbabwe, this was for Zimbabwe, but across the world. Right. There has been a lot of violations of basic human rights, you know, ability to be able to speak, freedom of association because of COVID-19. Is it justified because we're trying not to spread the virus?
I don't think that it's justified. I think that in our policing, we should make sure that there is no physical or mental brutality in Zimbabwe. So Anesima Sambo, who is our news reporter at ZiFM Stereo, filed this report. Let's have a listen.
At times, kombi esenenge yakazara vanhu unzi uri kuenda kupi? Ndoti ndiri kuenda kuclinic kunodi kunotora mushonga wei tipe proof inoratidza kuti unomwa mapiritsi eAIDS. Some of the terminology dzaishandiswa ipapo to me yange isingandiitire, because for me ndatodisclose kune munhu wese, ndatomuudza kuti I'm HIV positive, yet it's my right to keep my status private.
Vakasvika pamwe kuti vhura mapiritsi ako tione, pavatovhura pavabata piritsi rangu nemaoko havana kusanitiza maoko avo, havana kuita sei. Vese vatanga kukamuka zvanzi, zipiritsi rese zombe unorisa pai. Imagine takamira paline paflyover pakatoburutswa musupa. Munhu wese angochoka, ane AIDS. Saka during lockdown hazvinyika zvinhu zvakaitika zvakawanda izvo zvairwadza.
More of it nyaya dzemedication, particularly in my reviews, most of us who miss pama roadblocks, bonzi ukuenda kupi and stuff and for you to explain ukuenda clinic anengatona rasta toze akunyepo and at the end zokuforce kuti se kuita accidental disclosure kutomuditsira book apo panenge pane vamwe vanhu kana kuti kumara vakutoziva your status.
I think that the gist of this entire topic today is that service providers need to be friendly and cognizant of the kind of people that they're dealing with. If the largest demographic affected by HIV and AIDS are the youth, can we be friendly towards them? We don't want young people defaulting on their HIV treatment because they're afraid of the treatment they get. I think our leaders need to do better. And
the law enforcement people need to do better as well. And speaking of young people, Genius Kadungure, we all know him as Ginimbi, recently bought a Lamborghini, which is worth over $300,000 Now, if you factor in the almost 90+% of duty in Zimbabwe, it gets up to $645,000. Now, there has been a lot of talk about, okay, because recently he bought a Bentley, he bought a Ferrari, and these are just top of the range cars that don't cost, my extra, 7,000. Isn't it like Italian cars?
I drive an X-Trap.
I also drive an X-Trap.
There's nothing wrong with an X-Trap. It gets me from point A to point B. It's
Absolutely.
what I can afford, and I think it's what 90% of Zimbabweans
I also drive an X-Trap, Martha. I mean, I'm just saying that I'm just trying to emphasize how expensive these cars are. So there has been a lot of talk on social media that, first of all, why is he buying a Lambo, potholes? Why is he wasting so much money being extravagant? Like, whose problem is it? Does it matter what somebody decides to do with their money despite the state of the economy that he's in?
Right. I think, Mona Lisa, that in Zimbabwe, it's not a lot of rich people. So when someone buys a Lamborghini, it's like, oh, world news. Everywhere else in the world, South Africa, for example, Nigeria, they're millionaires and billionaires. So many people drive these cars that it's not news.
So it's a thing for us because...
if he drives a Honda Fit or an X-Jump like the rest of us, then it's news. Because we want to know, what happened? Are you being modest? But I think that Zimbabweans also,
But apparently Zuckerberg drives like a most basic car. I don't know what he drives.
He rides his bicycle often to work.
So, yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg drives a bicycle.
So what does it say about us as a society, as a people? Are we defined by status?
We are defined by status, and I think most of us, we grew up not having a lot of these luxuries and the privileges that people tend to attain later on in life. So I think that's the... And also, I want to say this, but I don't know how to say it in English without distorting the actual connotation. Zimbabweans, tineka habit, kekuda ubatira zvinhu apa. So, do you know what? Listen, I think it's a fabulous
I don't think
car.
it's
I saw it. It's orange, neon orange. It's a beautiful car. How is he going to drive it?
I don't think it's a Zimbabwean thing. I think it's a maybe someone who comes from a less privileged background. The moment you're well-to-do in life, I was just scrolling through like my Instagram feed. Ningi bought a Benz. Ningi, it's like our definition of success is defined by the car we drive, the neighborhood we live in, and that is when you see someone...
We're driven by the wrong things, and I think that there's also an element of the role that social media
wrong,
plays on the impact of everyday people's lives, because people are driven towards the likes. If you get less than 1,000 likes, it's like, oh, you haven't made it in life. But is that what life is about? This thing
There's more to life.
This adventure, this journey. I think the real question is, what defines you as a person? What are you trying to do? And what makes you happy? So
what if the three fancy cars make him happy?
If that makes him happy, then good for him. Good for him. As long as that's fine. Nobody cares. But I think that let's not give the impression that life begins and ends on Twitter. It doesn't.
There's more to life than the car you drive. There's more to life than the likes that you get on social media. And I think that's the message that we need to tell our young people oftentimes, that there is definitely more to life. Even though you think older people have the pressure.
I think everybody across the range, across the different demographics needs to hear that there is more. There was a life before we had social media. And I think those basics that we've sort of lost in translation.
What if it's just genuinely your life? You live an extravagant life and
it
just happens to be on
social
media.
If you're happy with it, that's good. But don't put other people under pressure to now buy a Benz to match with you, keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Keeping up with Ginimbi.
Steps. Just appreciate the small things in life, things like good health, you know, and family.
Right.
If you have a roof over your head, food on your table, those are, for me, the basics at the end of the day. Now, speaking of borders, the European Union Commission has officially started legal proceedings against the United Kingdom for breaching what it called the Brexit deal and international law. Now, the contentious agreements that the EU and the UK seem to not be agreeing on are the Northern Ireland Protocol and the Internal Market Bill. Now, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had this to say and said that the United Kingdom acted in bad faith. Let's have a listen.
As you know, we had invited our British friends to remove the problematic parts of their draft internal market bill by the end of September. This draft bill is, by its very nature, a breach of the obligation of good faith laid down in the withdrawal agreement. Moreover, if adopted as is, it will be in full contradiction to the Protocol of Ireland, Northern Ireland. The deadline lapsed yesterday. The problematic provisions have not been removed. Therefore, this morning, the Commission has decided to send a letter of formal notice to the UK government. This is the first step in an infringement procedure. The letter invites the UK government to send its observations within a month. And besides this, the Commission will continue to work hard towards a full and timely implementation of the withdrawal agreement. We stand by our commitments. Thank you.
So this whole idea of Brexit, the EU, it's a long story. It started about 5 years ago and it's still ongoing. 3 prime ministers later, the United Kingdom has not attained what it calls freedom from the EU, but there seems to be so much to discuss. How many more prime ministers does the UK have to go through before they finalize this divorce?
So maybe it goes back to the question of should they divorce in the first place? But, well, I guess 5 years old, that's a long story. But I think that the European Union is overreacting, Martha.
Is it really?
It's a bill. It's not an act. It's something. It's just like suing someone for intention of breaking the law. It's an agreement that would finalize the divorce between the EU and the European Union. And you do know the history of the Northern Ireland border, but it's a bill. My point is, they're proposing a bill, right? We all know how it works. It's a bill that's being discussed in Parliament before it's enacted into a law. So how do you sue someone on the intention of putting something into act? Because think about it. What if it doesn't sail through Parliament? What if it then became another parliamentarian says, no, it doesn't work, like the arguments that you bring up and say, no, we can't do that, we bring the deal, and the EU, they're already suing the United Kingdom. Do you not think they're overreacting?
I don't think that they're overreacting. I think the whole contentious issue between the UK and the EU goes far beyond overreaction. I disagree with you there because so much has been done and said that was wrong in the first place. I think the internal market bill itself gives the EU a bad advantage towards the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom gets more control and more favor in terms of its region or states of the United Kingdom. It makes it difficult for any other state within the United Kingdom to trade and do business with any other country that isn't within the United Kingdom.
Right.
That's unfair. Let's also remember that Scotland never actually wanted to leave the EU in the first place.
When they did the whole referendum a few years ago.
The concern is, how does this divorce become finalized in a way that doesn't disadvantage the people of the United Kingdom in terms of business, in terms of traveling?
And I
those
think
are the things that make up what the EU Commission is saying it acted in bad faith. It has
become an issue of power because you speak about how that the Brexit deal should not disadvantage. At the end of the day, it has to go down to the bottom, to the average person.
Right.
How are they benefiting from this? But now it has become a lot of politics. You know, a lot of politics. Is this what we want? Oh, I'm a better prime minister. You know what? And I applaud the people that actually step down to say, you know what, this is a bad idea, and they don't want to be associated with the whole drama of the Brexit. But I think we need to, maybe the leaders, the politicians, the EU and the UK itself need to look at the impact it has on the average person.
If we justify any country doing what's best for itself and not what's best for people at large, we encourage the wrong things. So I think that the people, at the end of the day, what's good for the people rather than what's good for a few is always what's better. Well, that's our take for this week. I'm Martha Mamombe.
And I'm Mona Lisa Dube. See you next time.